Karina baby, for the 23rd, we have Silly Seesaw. Let's take a look. Look at those silly seesaws. The Billy kids were playing in the park. They took turns on the swings, the slides, the merry-go-round, and they saw something new. It was a seesaw. I wonder what it does, said the Billy kids. One end of the seesaw was up in the air, the other end was down on the ground. The Billy kids went to sit on it, but they both sat on the lower end. Silly thing, they said. It doesn't do anything. Just then, the park keeper came along. Silly Billies, said the park keeper, you must sit on one at each end, then see what happens. The park keeper helped one Billy kid to sit on the other end of the seesaw. Hold on tight, he said. The seesaw went up and down, up and down. Whee! Woo! Said the Billy kid. High in the air. Whee! Said the other. Going down fast. And they both agreed the seesaw wasn't so silly after all. Usually if something isn't working right, try to find another way to make it work. There's always a way to make something work. There's a way to make anything work. You can solve any problem that there is in the world if you take some time, take a step back and go, well, it didn't work this way. How is it going to work? You know, not everything works the way that you first think that it does. So you have to really take a step back and be like, wait a second. If those silly Billies got off and tried a different way, they possibly would have made it work without the keeper. Okay, next is Pandora, the first woman. Let's see this one. Although Jupiter had pushed Prometheus for stealing the divine fire from the chariot of the sun, he was not satisfied. He felt the gods should seek resolution against man for accepting the stolen gift. Summoning all the gods to the great hall, he asked them what they thought would plague and torment men the most. It was decided, after many suggestions and arguments, that a woman might harry him and plant seeds of ambition and dissatisfaction. All right, so all the gods to the great hall, he asked them what they thought would plague and torment man the most. It was decided after many suggestions. So they decided after many things that this was it. And arguments that a woman might harry him, literally says harry, and plant seeds of ambition and dissatisfaction. So what do you think plagues men the most still in our lives today? It's the ambitions that we have and the dissatisfactions that we do actually have from not reaching those ambitions. Please be realistic with your ambitions in life. Mama has these grandiose ideas of this campground that I eventually want to build if I get enough investors to invest in the grounds and live far enough south that it could be an all-year thing. It might never happen. Am I dissatisfied that it hasn't happened yet? No. Am I going to be dissatisfied if it never happens? No. It's an ambition in life. But it doesn't mean that it's actually going to become that thing that you envision. Even though I wanted to start off from a video game and work my way up into a real place where people could already have the idea of what it is and come to later. But who knows if that would ever actually happen in real time, right? So, dissatisfaction in his breast. So in much the same way as Prometheus had made man, they brought clay from the earth and created a woman whom they named Pandora. When she was given life, she was endowed by the gods with every gift. Venus bestowed beauty on her. Mercury gave her the art of persuasion. Apollo donated the love of music, and the Graces trained her in the social arts. Then Vulcane fashioned an eclipsed box of pure gold, into which were put all the evils that have plagued mankind ever since. Disease, famine, pestilence, fever, envy, greediness, gluttony, hatred, and intolerance. So let's go over that list again. Everything that has plagued mankind. Disease. Disease is a very big thing when people get sick. Famine, when people are hungry. Pestilence, when people don't understand. Fever, when people get angry. Envy, when people get jealous of what someone else has. Greediness, when people want things that either other people have or that they don't have themselves. Gluttony, when you eat everything in sight. Hatred, when you're just angry at the world and at other people for nothing. And intolerance, when you can't accept somebody else for just who and what they actually are. Right? It's good to have acceptance and love, kindness. But all these things have plagued mankind. It does not seem possible that a thing as lovely as the golden blocks can contain so many ills. As they were about to close the box, the gods and goddesses regretted their hasty decision, and although they were too proud to abandon the idea altogether, they added one beautiful gift that would lessen the pain caused by all the other disasters. The gift was called hope. Hope. What is hope? Hold on, pain ends, right? People have hope all the time. It's why we still have children being born into the world, because we have hope for our futures and for our next generations. That's why there are places like South Korea that have almost no children. Some people, when they're put into such an enslavement, they lose hope. Don't lose hope. Always hold on. That pain will eventually end. You have to keep moving forward, right? But we always have hope. So the gift was called hope. The gods tucked it down into the bottom and cautioned Pandora not to open the box, which was intended as an offering to the man who took her in marriage. Oh my, so the man who took her in marriage is going to open this box properly and be bestowed with all these ills, and yet have hope. Then, bidding her goodbye, and gave her to Mercury, Jupiter's message, who bore her away with him to the earth, Mercury left her with Aphrodite, who was so struck by her unusual beauty and grace that he gladly took her into his home. Seeing the golden box under her arm, he asked what it contained, and she answered that she did not know exactly, but that she had been told to give it to the man she married. She placed it on a table, and its brilliance lightened the entire room, leaving Pandora alone after cautioning her not to look at the contents of the chest until he asked the advice of his brother. Aphrodite traveled a whole day until he reached Mount Caucasus, where Prometheus lay in chains. He related to him all that had happened, and Prometheus suggested a trick, told Aphrodite to hasten back and hide the box in a place so remote that no one could ever find it. In the meantime, Pandora explored her new home. She picked flowers and scattered the petals, which were soft and fragrant, under her foot. She brought cold, sparkling water from the brook that roared over clean stones, and at the foot of the hill she took honey from the bees and fruits from the trees. Each time she entered the house, the shining box caught her eye, and more than once she stopped to touch it, shake it, and wonder what it might hold. All day long she kept busy until at night drew near she could find nothing else to do. Drawing a chair up to the table on which the box lay, she sat down, hypnotized by its beauty and glitter. Occasionally she went to the door and looked in the distance to see if Aphrodite's or men were approaching. Finally she took the box from the table and held it, touching it over and over, admiring its elegant design. It was almost dark, as she was still all alone. Surely, she thought, it can do no harm to open this lovely thing to a mere crack. So what did she do? She obsessed over this box, right? She's like, oh, this box is on the table. She touched it all day. Now she has it in her hand, and she's like, if I just open it a little bit, it will be fine. Surely she thought it could do no harm to open this lovely thing a mere crack. And she went and see what it contained. Is it a crown, a precious jewel, a magic cloak, a great gift from the gods? Must be something both beautiful and rare. The fairies who were hovering about, robed in invisibility, read her thoughts and strung her conscience with tiny pricks. She fumbled with the clasp on the box and loosened it. Perhaps, she said to herself, it is a robe of the purest gold thread, embroidered with diamonds, rubies, and sapphires. As if it is, it would be better if I opened the cask and wore the robe, so that I will look more beautiful in man's eyes. As she thought this, the fairies strung her madly, but her curiosity was so great that she secretly felt them. She opened the box a little, and peering in, saw nothing. Angry and emboldened, she opened it wider, and she saw what at first looked to be brown, an ugly cloud. The cloud moved and separated, and then, with a loud buzzing sound, hundreds of things, rumbling small insects, escaped into the room. Terrified, she tried to close the box, but her hand shook, and she could not manage the clasp. It was almost empty when she finally slammed the lid, and the only one thing remaining. This was hope, which had lain on the bottom. She hurriedly placed the box on the table again and ran to the door to see if Aphrodite's or man were in sight. She looked around the room to make sure that none of the evils remained to be seen. She shook her robe in fear that she might lurk in its folds, and she combed her hair free of them. Then she sat on the table for supper, selecting the ripest fruits, the most delicious berries, and the loveliest scented flowers. Pulling her chair far away from the table, she sat down and awaited Aphrodite's and man. When they returned, they found her busy mending their clothes. They found her innocently busy mending their clothes, and she looked so beautiful sitting there that Aphrodite almost forgot to ask her whether or not she had looked in the box. When he asked her, she pretended for a moment to have no idea what he meant. The box, she quarreled. Oh, that one. It had slipped my mind entirely. Yes, I did open it a little, and there is a lovely irresident thing laying in it. It is more beautiful than the richest jewel, and it is called hope. We will keep it there, Aphrodite told her. She made no mention of the ugly brown cloud, composed of hundreds of ills that had fallen out into the world, and it was some time before Aphrodite and men knew that the box had contained anything but hope. When they did learn Pandora had so endeared herself to them that they could not punish her, they looked at her sadly, unable to speak, seeing the disapproval in their eyes. She tried to defend her disobedience. It is true that I opened the box, she argued, but it is also true that I allowed the evils to escape into the world. I brushed them from the room. They are not here and cannot harm us. And our house hoards only hope. All right, so what do you get from that? Sometimes I didn't realize our house hoards only hope. So she let all the evils out and she let all the evils be in the world, but her own home, she didn't let those evils invade her own home. She has hope inside of her home, inside of her heart, inside of her people, and that she knows personally. That's a beautiful story. I never read that before. I never knew this story from reading it like this. I've always heard of Pandora's box and that, the evils were let out into the world, but I never knew that that's how the story went. Karina, baby, let's do... Oh, say, oh, playmates, come out and play with me, and bring your dollies 3, climb up my apple tree, shout down my rain barrel, and slide down my cellar door, and we'll be jolly friends forevermore, more. So Pandora's story, your home is your body, and your mind is really so much of your life. Your perception on everything. All right. So you can only really have one object with you at a time that you are playing with or doing. All right. So say I have a mirror and this mirror is with me and this is my object that I could have in my hand. You can only have so much. Like people have so many possessions, so many objects, so many things to be prepared for life. They have containers for water, they have stuff for hiking, they have stuff for camping, they have stuff for doing things that they enjoy doing. But you only can hold so many possessions at once, right? And you have to really think about what you really want in this life. And the one thing that you should want in this life is hope. Is to believe that no matter what happens to you, in the end, you will be okay. And that no matter where you are, you can and will survive. And to take care of your body, where you eat and where you sleep every single day. And that is your home. So, I love you, baby. I love you so incredibly much. Don't forget to check in with yourself every day and be like, how am I doing today? How am I feeling today? What is my day like today? And don't let people rent space inside of your head that shouldn't. It doesn't matter what you've been through that day. That's now gone. That is the past. It's time to move forward. So there are a lot of situations and circumstances because there's so many people that bombard your life. And some people that just take up your time. And you have to realize how important your time is. And you have to realize how much space you're giving people inside of your head too. You have to be able to be like, that doesn't matter to me. I'm moving forward. Always move forward with your life. I love you so incredibly much. And I miss you so much. And I think about you every single second of the day. I always worry about you. I always pray for you. I always get you something. I miss you and I love you. I just want you to know that you are loved and you are important. You're never forgotten. I love you, baby.